If you ever wonder why some enemies seem impossible while other players make them look easy, chances are it isn't your gear, it's the mechanics. Dragonwilds barely explains this. Today we'll cover stamina, dodging, positioning, damage types, enemy weaknesses, defense techniques, and the food and potions and equipment that makes each of those mechanics even stronger. By the end of this guide, you'll know not only how to fight, but how to prepare for every fight. I'm Thurnax, let's get started. Before we talk about weapons, armors, or dealing more damage, we need to understand the single most important combat mechanic in Dragonwilds, stamina. Most players think their health bar is what keeps them alive. It isn't. Your stamina bar is. Nearly every action you perform in combat depends on stamina. Once it's empty, your options become extremely limited, and that's usually where fights start going wrong. Let's break down exactly what stamina affects. Basic attacks. Every weapon swing consumes stamina. The heavier the weapon and the longer the fight, the more important stamina management becomes. If you empty your stamina bar, trying to deal as much damage as possible, you'll often leave yourself unable to react to the enemy's next action. Combat isn't about attacking consistently, it's about attacking the right moments. Mobility. Stamina also fuels your movement. Sprinting lets you reposition, close the distance to range enemies, retreat to safety, or create a space to heal. Dodging consumes stamina as well. Make it one of your most valuable defensive tools. Good mobility isn't just about moving faster, it's about controlling the fight. Every time you reposition, you're deciding where the battle takes place instead of letting the enemy dictate it. Blocking. Blocking also uses stamina. Every successful block drains parts of your stamina bar, and the stronger attacks consume even more. If your stamina is already low, blocking multiple attacks can leave you unable to defend yourself against the next heavy hit. Think of blocking as another tool that shares the same resource as attacking and dodging. Hydration. One mechanic that is easy to overlook is hydration. Keeping your water meter full improves your stamina regeneration, allowing you to recover faster between attacks and defensive actions. If you're heading into a difficult fight with an empty water meter, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage before the battle even begins. Always top off your hydration whenever possible, before exploring dangerous areas or challenging bosses. Perks and equipment. Preparation can make stamina management much easier. For example, infusions reduce the stamina cost of attacking, making fights much longer and more forgiving. Mage armors, 1-piece bonus in their bonus tree, reduces delay before stamina begins regenerating. Any stamina supporting food or equipment you'll unlock later can further increase your effectiveness. These bonuses won't replace good stamina management, but they make every decision more forgiving and let you stay in control longer. Before every difficult fight, ask yourself, is my hydration full? Do I have healing food equipment? Do I have enough stamina to defend myself after attacking? Never spend all your stamina. Always keep enough in reserve for one dodge or one block. The strongest players aren't the ones who attack the most, they're the ones who always have enough stamina left to react. Now that you understand what stamina actually controls, let's learn how to spend it effectively by mastering one of the most defense mechanics in Dragonwilds, dodging. This is one of the most powerful defensive tools in Dragonwilds, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. Let's take a moment and watch these few bad examples in this short video. Most players panic the moment they see an enemy move. The result? They dodge too early, waste stamina, and still get hit. Instead, let's break down how enemy attacks actually work. Recognizing attack patterns. Every enemy has a rhythm. Wind up, attack, and recover. Some attack once before recovery. Others chain multiple attacks together. Understanding which way to dodge. Directional dodging. Not every dodge should be backwards. Sometimes dodging sideways keeps you close enough to immediately counterattack. Learning where to dodge is just as important as learning when to dodge. The next segment I'm going to cover is understanding positioning. Now that you know how to manage your stamina and time your dodges, let's talk about a skill that makes every fight easier before the first attack is even thrown. Positioning. Dragonwilds rewards players who control the battlefield instead of letting the battlefield control them. Good positioning reduces the number of attacks you need to dodge, prevents you from becoming surrounded, and creates safer opportunities to attack, heal, and recover stamina. Let's look at a few ways to use positioning in your advantage. Fighting one enemy at a time. One enemy is predictable. 5 enemies are chaos. Whenever possible, avoid pulling the entire posse. Instead, use your surroundings to isolate enemies and fight them individually. This keeps incoming attacks manageable and gives you far more control over the fight. If you're using a melee build, consider carrying a crossbow, specifically for pulling enemies one at a time. It's one of the simplest ways to make difficult encounters significantly safer. Using your environment. The world around you is one of the strongest defensive tools of Dragonwilds. Rocks can block arrows, trees can interrupt enemy movements, doorways force multiple enemies into single choke points. Cliffs and elevation can give you time to recover, heal, or rethink your approach. Before every fight, take a quick look around and ask yourself, what can I use at my advantage? Creating space. Not every opening comes from dodging. Sometimes the safest move is simply backing away. Creating space gives you time to recover stamina, heal safely, reset enemy attacks, prepare for the next engagement. Just because you're not attacking doesn't mean you're losing the fight. Sometimes stepping back is the smartest move you can make. Controlling enemy movement. Instead of reacting to enemy movement, control it. Move enemies where you want them. Lead melee enemies through narrow passages. Force range enemies to reposition around obstacles. Fight with your back away from cliffs and dangerous terrain whenever possible. The more predictable the enemy movement becomes, the easier combat feels. Positioning during a boss fight. Boss positioning is just as important. Standing directly in front of a boss usually gives them access to every attack they have. Instead, stay near their sides whenever possible. Circle around larger enemies. Watch how their attacks rotate. Sometimes moving one step left is safer than spending stamina on a dodge. Positioning isn't just about avoiding damage, it's about creating better opportunities to deal damage. Before entering a dangerous area, ask yourself, can I pull enemies one at a time? Is there nearby coverage for range attacks? Do I have enough room to dodge safely? Can I retreat if things go wrong? Planning your battlefield before combat begins often makes a fight dramatically easier. So far, we've learned how to survive a fight. Now it's time to learn how to end one, faster, by understanding one of Dragonwild's least explained mechanics: damage types and enemy weaknesses. There are 3 different attack types to understand, and they are very important. Slash, stab, crush. Understanding Hitsplats is also very important to know as well. You have normal, effects, immunities. Normal Hitsplats means your attack dealt normal damage without triggering a critical hit or special damage effect. Critical hits means you've landed a critical strike dealing bonus damage beyond your normal attack. Burning Hitsplats indicate fire damage over time and continue to damage enemies after the initial attack unless they're resistant or immune. Poison Hitsplats show damage over time from poison effects, slowly draining an enemy's health until the effect expires. Bleeding Hitsplats applies a damage over time effect that continues harming the target after your initial hit, making it especially useful during longer engagements. Immunity negates all damage from that damage type. Understanding your Hitsplat gives you an instant feedback during every fight. They tell you when you're dealing normal damage, landing critical hits, applying status effects, or using the wrong damage type against an enemy. The more you pay attention to what those numbers are telling you, the faster you'll improve your combat decisions. Understanding each type of monster within each region is very, very important to know. So then you can understand what weapons do I need to bring to this battle. Tipplewood and Bramblemead Valley. The first region introduced you to the fundamentals of combat through simple enemies, with slow, easy to read attack patterns. This is perfect place to learn stamina management, attack timing, blocking, and dodging without being overwhelmed. Don't rush through these encounters. Use them to build good habits that will make every region ahead much easier. As you enter the swamps, enemies become more aggressive and begin introducing static effects like poison. Fights become less forgiving, making preparation, positioning, and bringing the right consumables just as important as your gear. This region teaches you to think ahead instead of simply reacting. The Fractured Plains introduces faster, more aggressive enemies that can quickly punish poor stamina management and bad positioning. Encounters often give you less room to recover, so knowing when to attack, dodge, block, or create distance becomes extremely important. This region acts as a strong transition in the late game combat, where preparation and clean execution matters just as much as your equipment. Stormtouch Highlands. Highlands reward patience and punishes panic. Enemies attack faster, hit harder, and often mix melee and ranged threats together, forcing you to read attack animations more carefully while making smart use of the environment. By the time you leave the region, recognizing enemy attack patterns should become second nature. Valhalla raises the difficulty by introducing enemies that pressure you from multiple directions and punish poor positioning. You'll need to prioritize dangerous targets, use cover effectively, and choose your moments to attack instead of trying to overwhelm every fight with aggression. This is where combat starts demanding consistency rather than brute force. Data and Reach expands on everything you've learned by introducing tougher armored enemies, stronger elemental threats, and encounters that reward adapting your loadout before combat begins. Understanding damage types, enemy weaknesses, and proper preparation becomes far more important than simply bringing your highest tiered weapon. The Umbral Sand serves as the ultimate test for every combat mechanic you've learned through your journey. Enemies are highly aggressive, hit extremely hard, and leave you very little room for mistakes. Success here from combining strong preparation, efficient stamina management, smart positioning, and a deep understanding of enemy attack patterns rather than rely on gear alone. Combat in Dragonwilds isn't about having the strongest weapon or the best armor. It's about understanding the mechanics behind every fight. Once you learn to manage your stamina, recognize attack patterns, position yourself effectively, and adapt to enemy weaknesses, combat becomes far more consistent and rewarding. These are the fundamentals of every experienced player relies on, and mastering them will make every region and every boss feel far more amazing. If this guide has helped you, let me know in the comments. What combat mechanic surprised you the most? Or if there's a tip you think a new player should know. I read every comment, and your feedback helps shape future guides. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like. I've got plenty more planned covering progression, bossing, building, and everything you need to master the game. Thanks for watching this. I'm Thurnax, and I'll see you on the next one.